Welcome, everybody. We are back with episode,
Yeah,
God, is it 41? I believe it's 41.
my goodness.
Episode 41 of the Lookout Podcast. I am Meals. I am here with the Platinum Chanel boy himself, Jeff.
Yeah,
How are you doing, my friend?
man. Honestly, I'm great, man. Soccer started this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, we're about to talk about my master class anime. everything I care about.
The more I watch this anime, the more it explains so much.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's. I mean, this is like everything for me. So it's
That's
amazing.
what I had that realization today as I'm watching. I finished the Hunter exam arc, and by
Hmm.
finished I mean like skipped a bunch of episodes and
Right,
and
right,
showed up
right,
towards
right.
the
You
end.
you you just have to kind of like once you start watching it, you're like, okay, I remember all of
Right,
this.
right. Skipped a bunch of episodes to the end. Ended up like bleeding into the Zodiac family arc.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, "Yo, this show explains so much about the man named Jeff."
Yeah, it does.
And everything around it. Um, but before we talk about anything, I mean, this is summer at Kame House. This will be, I believe, episode 3 of this entire ordeal, and we are going through Jeff's pick, which is Hunter x Hunter. Shout out to the Hunter x Hunter
Summer
fans.
is almost over, so
I know,
we're
right?
getting through it. We're trying to get through it for you guys for the weather, because for both of us, the weather's gonna change pretty dramatically and fast.
I'm
So
pretty sure it's already started. Quite honestly, I don't think
really,
we've
for you,
had a I don't
hey
think
man,
we've had a 90-degree day in the last 2 weeks.
last night, around the time I was texting you, you saw I was up late last night.
Yes.
uh, I was talking, we were just chatting it up, but it was 88 because humidity was 79% last night. So it was 82 degrees, but the humidity was so high, it was 88 here, man.
Yo, keep that away from me. I do not
At
need
like
that.
11:30 at night, man. You know,
I do
so
not need that type of energy around me. To
yeah,
be
it's
quite
bad.
honest with
It's
you.
bad. But
But
yes, all the Hunter x Hunter fans,
shout out to you. Welcome.
this is our time. Yeah, this is our moment.
So before we usually start any sort of thing, um, we always have the question: what are you watching right now? Is there anything new that you're watching?
No, no. I started My Hero uh, because, well,
Next
Mills
episode.
has this. Yeah, Mills has his pick coming up as well on Kame's House. I'm watching that. I kept going on Hunter, because
Once you
I was
start, you
already.
can't stop.
Yeah, I was already going. I have every Blu-ray that has came out. I have them, so I've just been watching. But other than that, no. Like I said, soccer started this weekend. No new anime. We were just talking before we got on the show about Super. Waiting for Super to get back on so we can get it popping.
I don't know
Yeah.
when that's coming back. It's just there's been no signal, there's been no sight, there's been
I
nothing
know, I
that's
know. Let's
give.
not hope like it's like spring 2020.
I mean,
You
it might
know,
shit. It might
I
be.
know, I know.
Fuck, it might be at this point. I'd say in terms of things that I've been watching. At one point, I was continuing Baki that Jamal
Hmm.
continued to recommend that I watch. I got to episode 5, and I said, I'm not really feeling this show anymore.
That's okay.
And I think
Yeah.
it's just because of how it's written.
Hmm.
Um, he swears to me it gets better. Like he's like, yo, it gets so much better, and I'm assuming it gets better. They're 3 seasons in. Some people have got
Yeah.
to like the show. Um, he swears to me it's get better, but kind of the way
It's not my type. It's not for me either. So I mean,
the too cool for
I.
school main character, I'm not really feeling. Um, and then the introduction of other characters in the way they do it, and the kind of like gore and sex and
Yeah.
other
I,
things.
I have to fall in love with like somebody's development
Yeah,
or like character for me to like really get invested.
I agree.
And it's one of the only, like, I'll stick around for the anime if I can find, you
Something.
know, something, one or two characters that I'm just like, yo, there's a lot I want to know about this character, or like, even if they have just amazing designs, I'll give it a shot. Cause I'm just like, yo, I can look at this for a while and like gather as much information as I can to make it work for me. But sometimes, it doesn't, sometimes you'll take 2 weeks, watch a whole anime and you'll be disappointed that you took the time to check it out.
It is just that I would say that I'm probably going to eventually one day return to it. I'll try
Mm-hmm.
to. I'll try to. I'm not gonna just leave it out in the dust. I'll try to at
Right.
least finish the first season just to see what I can garner a major synopsis. But as far as the first 5 episodes, I stopped. And you know what? I actually stopped watching Baki and turned on Euphoria. Um,
Really?
Legitimately, that is how I got into Euphoria. I was watching
Okay. I
Baki.
was curious though, when when you told me you started Euphoria. That's how that happened.
It
You just
legitimately
moved on.
happened. I said, I don't want to watch this anymore. I need to watch Euphoria because we do have the overly medicated podcast that I continue
Mm-hmm.
want to support. And a lot of people, a lot of
Right.
my
Right.
friends and a lot of people love Euphoria. And you know what? I think it's an apropos topic for this because you can kind of in very broad strokes compare the relationship of like Gon and Killua to like Rue and Jules.
Definitely. Definitely. I
And
would say like just from that, using somebody to lean on, having that type of friendship that is kind of like, I don't want to call it like a parasite, but like, it's you just feel like you need that person regardless of the situation.
right, I think and we'll get on our little Euphoria spiel. I want to do a little thing
Okay.
on Euphoria. Let's talk about it a little bit because
Euphoria is to me, well, obviously the series is this season is over at the moment, but I would say probably the best show on television.
yeah,
Well, if you have cable or HBO access or whatever, but you know what I mean. It was dominating. I think as far in social media, of course, we know
right.
how that is. If a show is popping or is booming and social media is involved, everybody's involved, and I think that it speaks to the show.
The themes of the show, and I'm comparing them to Rue and Jules. I think Gon and the search for his father, and Rue, and
Hmm.
kind of like everything that's going on with her father, and the kind of you know seeking the solace that she had when he was
Hmm.
there and around, and kind of Jules, and kind of like her background and her like kind of destructive sort of background that has influenced the way she is now, and her quest to kind of find friends and kind of find solace as well in
Right.
her own life can be compared to like Killua in a sense, and maybe because it's
Of
also the
course.
hair. Um,
Maybe.
but I think Euphoria to me, beyond just the broad strokes of like the surface level stuff, I think so many things beneath from the music to like the colors to
Hmm.
the metaphors,
Visually, yeah.
visually. I think
And like I said, it's almost weird. Like to me, Euphoria has anime drama.
right,
It's like not just that, but also you get attached to characters really easy in that show, and I think that's what matters, and that's kind of what I was discussing with Hunter x Hunter. It's like you can get sucked into these personalities of these characters and start caring for them and their ambitions and their trials and the things that they like and dislike.
right. And I think everybody has got one, at least in Hunter x Hunter
Of
and
course.
Euphoria. I mean,
Yeah.
there's even if it's not even the main character like Rule or Jules, you got someone like a Fesco or um, Cassie
Hmm.
or just Cat or anybody. I mean, if you're into that.
Exactly. If
Um,
you're into that, yeah, if you're into that, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But no, same. Hunter x Hunter. It's like there's plenty of people who love Kurapika, plenty of people who love Leorio. It just depends.
it's it's a good show. If in terms of just like my latest watch, I'd say, damn, I made a good decision in sitting
Hmm.
down and watching this show. I wouldn't watch it around kids.
I'm about to say, are you usually into shows like that?
Um, it depends if it all
Because it's
works.
it's very drama, like
I am. I think it depends. If it depends on how it's presented. I'm so big into the story. Like between
Hmm.
this anime, which I also enjoyed as well. Euphoria, which is about the story. Even when we do Mount Silver podcast, it's like the thing about the game that draws me in is the story.
Yeah.
If the story doesn't make sense, if the characters aren't developed right, I'm not really feeling it. I kind of go off of just the general vibe and feeling that I have. So it's
Right.
I mean, Euphoria checks all the boxes. You can definitely check out the overly medicated podcast that we have on the RNT Radio Network.
Definitely.
Binge that since the first season of Euphoria is over. Um,
It's not a difficult show to get through.
no,
Just like watching it, you'll easily get sucked into that shit. Yeah.
and read. I mean, so much stuff happens between the lines that I think a lot of people miss or a lot of people don't. I mean, as a social media society, we're kind of we're kind of infatuated with just like the actions and just like the quick stuff and like what we see, but there's so much beneath the surface level of like
Hmm.
the relationships and the what things mean and everything having a significant purpose in the show. Um, it's really kind of what I can also equate to Hunter x Hunter,
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
because everything sort of has a purpose and everything, and the development of that show. I mean, if we expected, if
Yeah.
you, I would say I applaud Hunter x Hunter for taking the necessary steps to actually pace the development of the characters throughout the show.
Right.
And
Right.
you do.
Regardless of how you feel about wherever they're at that point in time, there's some type of purpose. I know we talked about Greed Island and stuff like that. Like when it starts to kind of slow down, or even if it's tough to get through at that point,
Right.
the purpose of it is there. Like you know why it's happening. You know what I mean?
Let's get full into Hunter x Hunter. Um,
Sure.
if you need something to watch, I would say watch
Sure.
Euphoria. Let's get full into Hunter x Hunter. Yes, this is just masterclass here. This is what
Yeah.
he's uh
This is what made me like. This is what
talk about it.
made me fully invested into anime and buying manga. You know, it's to me, it has everything that I purposely like. The stuff that I desire, and being emotional, being attached to specific characters, the growth, family trees, evolution, tactics, you know, changes and abilities. Like I'm just very attracted to the show, you know. And I the original was in 1999, like the original adaptation,
Right.
and it had this kind of gritty uh appeal to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
We should
I
probably
mean,
say that we are definitely talking about the 2011 version.
we definitely are. We definitely are. We're
On
not
the
talking about the 99. The 99 version went to, I think, like 62 episodes, right? Basically, right into the end of Greed Island,
right,
I want to
and
say.
I believe the 2011 adaptation goes up to 148 episodes.
Right, which is after the Chimera arc and stuff with
It's
Gon's dad
the
and all that fun stuff.
13 chairman arc is where it
Hmm.
ends.
Right, right. It crazy enough because one of the best arcs that's happening is only in the manga right now, but no, that's a whole nother story.
We can talk about that a little bit after. I'm interested in the post 13th Hunter chairman
Yeah,
arc
yeah,
because
the dark continent, the dark continent.
I have no idea what's going on, but you can definitely inform
It's
me.
crazy.
But Hunter x Hunter, when would you say you began watching the series and kind of fell in love with it? Because I can say that I mean, y'all were here, the listeners were here
Yeah.
when I started watching it. I already talked about how I felt about it, but what about you?
Um, it was about, I want to say I was like 23. I think it was 2014. I think it was 2014.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started actually watching it, I had seen a few of the originals, but it was tough to get a hold of the 1999 version in general unless you're like, you know what I mean. If you're on the internet and you're watching stuff illegally, you know.
Right.
But other than that, it's really hard to get a hold of it, and not to mention it was incomplete. So when the 2001 adaptation happened, they brightened it.
2011.
2011 adaptation happened. They brightened it. It just had that. It was you could tell it was drawn for everyone. You know, like everything kind of got remastered, rechanged. They added some things, took some things out, not necessarily messed up the story, and of course, it got finished in full at that point, at least at that stage. And I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. You start watching it, and I told Mills when I put him on, I said you have to watch the series, and I said just start it. You know, at first it's it's very
It's long.
it's very best friends and camaraderie, and then you start getting into the Hunter exam, and it gets dark, but it never loses that like sense of like the friendship and what it's there for.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it never loses that railing no matter what. And I think that's why I became so passionate about it, is because even during the dark times of the series or the confusing times or even times where it was quote unquote filler,
Right.
I was still super interested in ain't all the little things that I could possibly miss.
I would say Hunter x Hunter. My beginning, my early things, and I can say this now after now watching it a second time and maybe even a third time, depending on some things. I mean, I got into it on Hulu, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got probably like 3 more months on my 99 cents per month Hulu
I was on
subscription.
Crunchyroll, I believe, when I.
Crunchyroll's probably a much better thing. I decided I wanted to watch it in English.
No, yeah, I understand. I get it. I get it.
um, and by the time I started watching, the full English series had not finished yet, and now it has. And now I believe it's completely off Adult Swim now.
Yeah, it's done. Yeah.
Which is they put it in the death slot as they're doing now with My
They
Hero.
did.
The
I don't know.
3:30 a.m. slot. Which is like,
yeah, us 29-year-olds, we can't even make it.
No, I can't. I really can't.
So yeah, I feel you, dude. I'm right there with you.
It's the death slot for real, but it just finished airing the entire English thing. I guess I should really kind of go back and look at that entire ordeal. But I would say the opening, and what we're talking about on this episode, is the Hunter exam arc. I think the opening of it, you stress to me like this character and these characters and the friendship, and that's all the things that I love about anime. But the Hunter exam arc, I would say the thing that kept me enthralled was that I really didn't know what was going to come next.
Yeah, I know, which is why I was pressing you. Like I was like, I didn't really give you much info. I think you knew about like Komugi and Miriam from me.
Yes,
but that was so far. Like that's some of the last stuff that is done.
Right.
So I know, like for you, that's all you really saw. I'm sure you saw pictures of Killua and Gon, and just because visually they are incredibly visually to me, they're done so well. Mm-hmm. I mean, clothing, personality, style.
Everything. I think you immediately know that it's them, and you immediately know the kind of characters they are. But the thing that drew me in about the series, like I said, I had no idea what would happen next, and by standard anime, kind of how the law of the thing goes, I was like, okay, this guy's gonna turn on Gon at some point in this entire arc. Right. I don't know how long he'll have these friends or how long all these characters. Okay, they're doing all these characters. Okay, so I just follow the similar prospects of okay, this is how anime goes. Like this, at least all the anime that I watch, which is very, very little. And it's a lot of the more popular American animes where the very contrived and also very systematic things happen, like Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or all these other things.
Right. The funniest thing about that is, everybody that I've put on to the series, they always assume that Gon and Killua are destined to be enemies. You know what I mean? It's the
archetypes of anime.
It's just how it feels. You just assume that's the end game.
You look at, we'll talk about My Hero next week, but you look at all the rivals that are there, and it's just best friends in the beginning. Turn into rivals.
They're gonna kill each other.
They're gonna kill each other. Look at Pokemon of Ash and Gary. In the beginning, best friends, and turn into rivals once it becomes a competition. That's the kind of archetypes that they build in anime. Right. But this one kind of leans on that. Not only it introduces. Actually, I don't know how we should talk about this entire arc. In terms of how we get into it, do we go in chronologically? Do we go in our favorite parts?
I don't have whatever feels right. I honestly don't mind skipping around. I don't mind going from start to the end.
I would say, all right. So here's what we should do. I think we should talk about just the Hunter exam arc in general and kind of get a basic synopsis for maybe people who haven't watched it yet.
Of course,
listening to this podcast about what it's about. And then we go into the characters a little bit, and then we talk about, the things that are prominent to us that we feel like in this series.
Definitely.
So the Hunter exam arc is the first arc of Hunter x Hunter.
Yes.
It starts off the entire thing. You get the introduction of all the characters. I mean, you can tell who's the main character in this from
immediately
the first few moments, and it's Gon, a young, chipper, delightful, adventurous young boy,
Goofy.
somehow just, I wouldn't say strong, but his
He's
abilities,
gifted.
his
He's very
abilities
gifted.
surpass his age. Like
Right.
it's and it surpasses a lot of people who are maybe even twice or three times his age. To be honest with you,
He's gifted. He has this connection with animals. He's outdoorsy. He's caring, carefree, and kind of ditzy. You know, he has that Goku kind of.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah, he's a little ditzy, but he clearly is passionate about what he's passionate about, and that's it.
like in all animes, lack of a father figure.
Lack of a father. Yeah. I mean, that's where it starts. Although this, I told you. I mean, I don't know if you read, you know, the notes that I sent you, but he may. I mean, he may have one of the worst fathers
In all of anime?
And I mean, man, I can't say all of anime because I haven't seen every anime, but the ones that I've seen,
the ones that you've seen, definitely.
Man, I think he's the worst father that I've seen.
Worse than Goku?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's worse.
I would say so.
I would say he's worse than Goku.
Goku has things that have been beneficial, you know, overall to the world. Like his purpose is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Gon's dad is just.
He just doesn't want to deal with kids.
Yeah, I mean,
he's selfish series, a little bit.
Right. Not to like spoil anything, but later on in the series, he's like, hey, if you want to find me, I don't want to see you, but if you want to find me, come find me.
Right. I mean, I feel like that's the entire arc, really. That's the entire basis of the show. It's like, he's looking for his dad. He decides, hey, to be able to find my dad who abandoned me to become a hunter, I should also become a hunter so I can understand his mindset of why he would leave.
Exactly.
So he's been raised by his aunt and his grandmother. I feel like another anime kind of trope of just not
me too.
But not being raised by actual parents, but rather some sibling of other person, unless you're like Ash or something, or it's just like his mom. But the entire thing, they what struck out to you in the first few episodes of this show?
Well, the purpose of, you know, the hunter exam, or wanting to take the hunter exam, and you know, basically him needing permission to take it from his aunt. So Me Too basically put this crazy situation in front of him and said, hey, you can't take it unless you do this, which is catch this ginormous fish.
Right.
The master of the swamp. I mean, nobody's been able to do it since his dad.
Right.
So, and of course, you know, Me Too's thinking this kid's, I mean, he's not gonna, I think her intention was to stop him going, clearly.
And I think that's actually been like the basis of this entire show, right? Like presenting Gon these insurmountable things that
and he keeps breaking his limits.
Yeah, that's saying you are not able to possibly do that. I mean, the first thing is the hunter exam, and even through the hunter exam, there are various phases where everything kind of seems impossible. But even when you go on further from that into, you know, the Zoldyck family arc, where he has to sort of push through those doors, you know, learning Nen and Ren and all the other things that happen way forward, and then you know, as you talk about the Chimera arc, the going through everything he's kind of gone through, it's like
that final breakthrough, it just shows like everything.
This is like the first initial thing of just like, okay, he's much better and he's stronger than we all think, and this is just the first of many tasks that he's going to have to go through to become.
But and it's awesome because you hear these little, like, as you watch, you start to realize that this man's father is somewhat of a living legend. Right. You know, and then you start to understand, you know, why Gon is the way that he is, and why he's special at the things that he does. It's just in his bloodline. So
typically, he wants to do this to take the hunter exam. Now, becoming in the hunter exam is joining the Hunter Association. The hunters are. I'm legitimately going to read this off a Hunter X fandom because I don't want to mess this up.
Hunterpedia.
The Hunter Association is a non-governmental organization responsible for the testing and licensing of hunters, individuals who have proven themselves through the rigorous exam to be elite members of humanity. I
too am a member.
With passing the hunter exam, an applicant is awarded a license to go almost anywhere in the world and to do almost anything, thus declaring them hunters. Typically, hunters devote themselves to tracking down priceless items, mystical places, and the unseen wonders of the world.
Correct.
But the hunter exam itself is, the exam that you have to take to become a hunter, and it's not the easiest exam, to be honest with you. It's
extremely brutal.
Statistics: 1 out of 10,000 people make it to the main exam, and the rate of rookies actually passing the exam is 1 every 3 years, and I believe it's handled every year or so. But one every 3 years, someone eventually passes the exam. New people actually pass the exam. Usually people are the ones who pass it or have taken it over and over again. And even
newcomers, rarely.
And even the main antagonist of the series, this is his second time taking the hunter exam. That we'll get to when we get to him eventually. But, he's eventually, given the thing, okay, we can go do that. And I think he boards that boat. And
he boards the boat. He does catch the fish. He gets permission to basically go forward and start this exam, or at least start the process of getting to the exam, the preliminary phase, basically. And the boat with young Captain, which is his name. We don't have any other information.
It's the greatest rap name on earth. He takes interest in Gon at this point, but I think probably the most significant thing about the entire boat scene is that we meet up 2 other characters that we fall in love with, and at least I've fallen in love with. I was actually super disappointed after the Zoldyck family arc when I realized that they were both leaving and would not be a part of this arc.
But that's just pacing, man. That again, it's one of the things that I don't want to say I disliked it. I ended up understanding later, just considering the things that happened. But you want it's remember when Brock and Misty,
of course,
left?
Yeah,
and it's like you're just like, who the fuck is Tracy?
Yeah,
you're just disappointed almost,
and all this other things like
right.
It's having to see them leave. And we're talking about Leorio and Kurapika, both who in this hunter exam arc not only befriend Gon, not only befriend Killua, but themselves. We start establishing themselves and start breaking down the layers of their character.
Right.
Kurapika. Which one should we go in first? Leorio? I think Leorio
is probably easier to go into.
Leorio,
I think Kurapika is a bit more complex.
Layered. Yeah, it's a lot more layered. So Leorio, if I would compare him to anybody, he's the oldest out of the group. I would compare him to, if this was the Pokemon group, I would say Brock, but not really.
I mean, he doesn't have that. Well, he has a little bit of sleazebag moments, but he's not necessarily a sleazebag. But I think Brock would be a good.
I only say Brock because he's the older one who's taking care of everyone, who's making sure that everyone isn't doing, and he's not particularly older. He's a teenager, but he looks way older.
They thought he was.
I thought he was older too.
They thought he was much older,
and then he turned into a teenager, and I was like, oh, okay. But his entire thing, he's kind of introduced as kind of this douchebag who's just doesn't really get along with anybody and is here to take the hunter exam for his own selfish needs, and that's to make a lot of money,
finances.
But at some point during the hunter exam itself, Kurapika manages to unfold all of that, and we get the story of Leorio taking this exam so he's able to sell his license, or at least sell something, to make money, to become a doctor, because one of his childhood friends ends up dying from a completely curable disease, and he realized there's nothing he can do about it because he was poor.
He was poor, basically. Just like it's like childhood trauma,
right?
Got him to this point where you're doing this grueling test, going 80 kilometers up some stairs. Or 80 kilometers down a hallway, then up some stairs, to just try to compete, because you just want to get to this point in your life where you can be successful to give free medicine to people in need because you lost a good friend who needed it,
Right.
and couldn't get it. And it's like, again, these are the things, like when that conversation was, which by the way is hilarious considering they were running and whatever, but anime. But when they were having that conversation, it's engaging, because at that point you don't really know what kind of character he is.
No.
You're just like, you just think he's just he's just part of this journey, but like he actually gets some depth, and it makes it so much more important.
And kind of from there on, he's kind of like, you kind of know he's one of the good guys, right? Like he isn't like
Mm-hmm.
this douchebag asshole like
Yeah, it
jerk.
changes the mood.
It completely changes it entirely. And then the next person we meet on this boat that's a part of this journey for the long run and actually has a significant part in all of this once you reach, I think it's the York New City arc,
Mm-hmm.
is Kurapika. And Kurapika, whew,
A fan favorite of a lot of people.
thought it was a girl. I'm one of
Yeah,
those people.
Kurapika is not a woman, but yeah, I get
I
it.
thought he was a girl. I was like, all right, is it a girl or a guy? I only say that because of the voice. The
Yeah,
voice
yeah, I get it.
kind of was a dead giveaway. I wasn't completely
I
sure.
mean, he has a his look is very, he has a bit of a feminine look
Right.
to an extent, I would say. So I mean, no, you're not the only. I mean, you're preaching. You're not the only person who's definitely thought he was may have been a woman at first, but yeah.
Kurapika, we don't know the depths to his abilities, but we end
Mm-hmm.
up learning it throughout this entire story. He meets, everybody on the boat. Um, I mean, Leorio, Gon, and Kurapika, they're the ones who passed that, I think it's that, what was it, that exam with the old lady? They all passed them together.
Right, right, right. The quiz, the two choice quiz,
Right.
when there's really no answer.
To be able to even get to the first phase of the exam. But you know what I appreciate, and I'll say Kurapika, I appreciate the dynamic of all three of them because all three of them are incredibly different.
Incredibly different.
And have completely different backgrounds, or at the end of the day are brought together by their own sort of motivations, but also their kindness. Um, Kurapika, last survivor of the Kurta clan.
Yeah.
Who's the
Yeah.
Kurta clan? The Kurta clan is an endangered clan. I'm reading all of this, so I just don't fuck
No,
this up.
yeah, yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Was an endangered clan from the Lesko province at the time of its destruction 5 years before the hunter exam that was taken. It possessed 128 members who possessed the Scarlet Eyes. So essentially, the Kurta clan are a group of indigenous people that were all eventually slaughtered and murdered by the
Phantom Troop.
Phantom Troop. Kurapika,
Because of their eyes.
right?
Their eyes are very, very. They're priceless.
Right.
They're priceless.
Kurapika is the last survivor, and he wants to become a hunter for revenge. I would say revenge, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's strictly revenge. He wants to basically take revenge for his fallen clan.
Mm-hmm.
They were all slaughtered, and their eyes were taken out of their heads and sold at a very, very high price by the most notorious murderers in the series, the Phantom Troop, which you later on learn about them as well.
Right. So that's a thing. Kurapika, as you say, is a fan favorite just because of his abilities and his abilities that we don't even get to the depth to. I mean, we see parts and glimpses of this throughout this Hunter exam arc, especially when you reach I think it's the third phase.
Yeah, the fights. When the series starts to, I'd say that's when the series starts to get show its true intent. It gets more dark. It gets a little bit more violent, or a lot more violent. Leading up to that, you see some things that you're like, okay, I see why this show's cool. But when you get to that I think it is the third phase. When you get to that part, I think that it really shows what the show is about.
I think it's so. These three together, I mean, it could have been these three, and I would have been like, all right. But we eventually get introduced to another character.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when we hit the where all the examinees need, and I think they're 415 because Gon ends up being the last one.
Hmm.
Um, and we hit the hunter exam where Gon meets Killua.
Correct.
Killua, another fan favorite.
Killua.
Another
Yeah,
fan
yeah.
favorite.
He probably he falls like for me. He's like top three on the show for me.
Who's your top three? If just to be interesting.
Uh, no, I mean Miriam, Komugi, Killua, and then from there we go into like Kurapika, Gon. I like Neferpitu, Kite. I love Kite.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, you already. I mean, I have it's on my skin, so I have a special bond with certain things. But
Right.
Killua to me is just maybe the like coolest
Right.
character in this series.
I think the hunter exam arc. Um, I think what's most intriguing about him is that we don't know what he completely is, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's clearly strong. He's clearly you look at him and you're like, oh, this is gonna be one of those characters. Like you're
Right.
like this is one of those characters like the 1A 1B type of deal, like the
Hmm.
Vegeta to Gon's Goku,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the Gary to his Ash, the whoever whatever anime
Right.
archetypes that you did. But this guy is strong, and you find out that he's even more strong once we get deeper into this entire arc. We find out that not only that he is a
He's
an assassin,
I mean, he's an assassin. Yeah, his family is
the most infamous assassin
yes.
family in all
Which
the land, the
man, listen,
Zoldycks.
see, to me, this is what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? I got chills just talking about this shit right now because I backstories, families, layering, family trees, like the reason why this kid is here. Why is he here? Like to me, that's what builds the characters. That's what's important. Because at this point, by the time we learn about Killua, we already kind of know about Leorio, Kurapika for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
When Gon is obviously the main character. So it just by the time you get to that third phase, you really really understand uh, Killua's whole dynamic. Almost like you're just like, okay, he's the strongest one that's here, basically. Like,
I feel like in this arc though, it's still. I don't think it's until probably the next arc that we finally get like the full on like good
yeah,
kid.
when you see his crib and
But
his family.
I think what this establishes is, I mean, he doesn't have a full reason for becoming a hunter. He just says he wanted to do it because it
He
kind
just
of
wanted to do it.
he did because it looks fun. He didn't have a particular reason he wanted to become a hunter. He ran away from home. He decided he wanted to take the hunter. He ran away from home because he stabbed his mom.
He stabbed his mother in the eye,
Um,
and he had to dip.
so he ran away from home because of that. And all this, I mean, all this out of context sounds weird, but trust me, when you watch the show itself,
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
it ends up making sense and it ends up becoming a lot more layered in things. But typically, I would say he's the black sheep of his family, the
Of
one who
course.
doesn't necessarily want to live the life of an assassin, but instead wants to live the life of a kid more, who just
But he's
hasn't
but
stabbed
he's
assassin.
good. He's better at being an assassin. I think that's his dynamic. He doesn't really know how.
Well, it's in his blood, right?
Right, right. I mean, it's in him. It's in his last name. But I just mean, he knows how to be an assassin more than a friend, and I think that's his whole thing. He's never really had a friend, a real friend, and I think that's his thing with Gon. It's like he finds this person who he connects with, and Gon basically starts to say, "Hey, you don't have to do this if you don't
Right.
want to." And I think that's the first time somebody really told him that you don't have to do this if you don't want to, and I think he found light to that.
I think the relationship between Gon and Killua definitely is probably the strongest thing throughout this entire series and probably the most notable thing throughout this entire series, just based on how much Gon actually, I would say how much he learns and how much of Gon bleeds into Killua as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to, and it's not much the other side, but there are glimpses of it, kind of the other side of kind of, because typically Gon is, as good as he is, he's a little bit stubborn, and his
You
character
know,
dynamic doesn't change. But I think more
it's
towards the end of the
yeah, no,
series.
it's crazy you say that because I agree. Like I think Gon is super stubborn, but Killua is super dramatic. Like Gon is not dramatic at all to me. Like
Hmm.
he Killua kind of like he takes everything to the next level. He overthinks. Gon is like, hey, like I said, that Goku thing.
Right.
First instinct, I'm doing that. You know what I mean? I'm saying that. Whatever I'm thinking, I'm saying that. Killua was like, he has a lot of scenes where he's, you know, does Gon feel the same way I do? Is it, you know how it's just he's an overthinker, but
Right.
that's why I say that dynamic of not knowing how to really be in a friendship with somebody or have any kind of relationship with somebody.
I think he really wanted that friend, and
Yeah, yeah,
he really, really. I mean, you see it in sort of the background. You go even to the next arc. He tries to ask one of the butlers to be one of his friends, and unfortunately, one of the butlers, I guess, butler in training actually, has to kind of refuse because he's not supposed to have friends.
you talking about Canary?
Yeah, yeah, Canary.
Yeah,
Um, he's not supposed to have friends, nor and even his parents say it too. Like when Gon tries to come afterwards and tries to visit him, he's like he's not allowed to have friends, so this doesn't make any
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
As-
For context, their
but
family lives on this humongous mountain
right,
that is cut off completely by these ton heavy doors, guarded by this magical beast, guarded by then butlers, guarded by then a butler house. So he was very excluded. His life is his life. You know,
right, and for
his
all good
family is his
reasons though,
family.
right? Like it's
Oh yeah, 100%,
assassins aren't supposed to have friends. Like
100%,
you can
100%.
even just in itself, you can figure it out yourself why assassins aren't supposed to have
Yeah,
friends. Like you're not
obviously.
supposed to get close to
Just use
anybody.
context clues. Yeah.
You people might try to kill you. All these other type of things. Assassins are not just supposed to have friends. So I completely get it. But we
Real
learned.
quick too, Canary is one of the best designs in this
Oh yeah,
series. But I just wanted to show. I want to say that.
for sure, for sure. Please check out Canary. Like
Yeah,
I
incredible.
was also floored
Did you
myself.
like? Did you like? You like
I
that
love
scene?
Canary. I love Canary.
Yeah. She's great.
And when she comes back too, I love it.
I know.
So we get to learn of Killua, and that's kind of the base of the four antagonists of this exam arc. I mean, protagonist of this exam arc. But we do meet the antagonist, evil, evil in the most strangest way, and this is
Yeah,
also part of the reason, the lure of this entire thing, right? Of like not
yeah.
sure what's
He's
going to
one of the
happen
most
next.
one of the most popular characters as well. And very strange, and to me, this was the first time that um, I understood like the term bloodlust
Mm-hmm.
and what it really means. So Hikosa
He's, I think it's Hisoka.
is Hisoka.
Hisoka. Hisoka is the main primary antagonist of the Hunter exam arc. He is, from the first moment you see him, he's killing somebody. He is he's one of the most unsettling yet parts of this entire arc. And if for someone to shake Gon, who's normally not shaken by kind of anything because he doesn't
Hmm.
absorb things in that way, he doesn't overthink things, he doesn't do anything. For someone to shake Gon is very, very strange. But he
The
manages
only
to.
time you see him overthink is with this guy.
He's he is to me my favorite part of this entire arc.
Really,
Yeah,
really.
it's
See,
crazy.
I think his actual not backstory, but like the personality and the thing that drives him is it's so fucking evil.
Hmm.
So like you're already drawn to the character because he's easy to enjoy. Like it's easy to watch the character do what it's doing, but like it's evil. I mean, the guy gets turned on by death, by
It's
murder.
it's the wildest thing, and it's also one of the most like to me watching this is kind of a new sort of watcher of anime. It's quite honestly one of the most original kind of characters I've seen. I mean, and typically I don't think shows deal with these kind of like mysterious, potentially androgynous, potentially someone who isn't defined by like the stereotypical like methods for like world domination and things. Like
Yeah, yeah. He has no care for that type of
I
stuff.
still don't fully know what his motivation is for doing anything, but I just know that he's a masochist, he's a sadist, he
Hmm.
is he loves the thrill of fighting and also loves the thrill of killing.
Yeah,
And that kind of is what his motivation is through this entire series. There's no
true.
like I want to become the baddest in the world. I need world domination. Um
The other cool thing about him, I'd say, is he understands abilities and power and growth because and that's I think that's unique too, like you said about the character is his dynamic with Gon is, hey, you know, I could kill you right now.
right.
Matter of fact, I would love to kill you right now, but I'd be even more satisfied to kill you later at your full potential.
Because he understands that not only first of all he not only understands that Gon is strong, he understands that Killua is strong, and Kurapika, and even Leorio in a sense.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
recognizes the strength in all of them, which is kind of crazy. And to even think of just looking at the entire arc series now, if you find out what Hunter x Hunter is and what they eventually learn to develop and the techniques that they develop, he is far ahead of everything in
He's
this
extremely
show.
gifted.
And the
Extremely gifted.
fact that and it even makes it more impressive that even Gon even gets to outsmart him or uses physical things at certain time on him just
Hmm.
based on how strong he actually is. Like it's actually completely crazy
He
given.
makes other characters look good when they do stuff like that. I think he's goes perfect for Gon's development. You know, it was like he didn't really have, at that moment, well, Gon was doing it for his dad. He was
Right.
doing it for his father. He didn't really have anything else in his way. At that point, the friendship with Killua was going well. There wasn't really anything introduced that was like negating that until, we get to that second arc. But I think, yeah, this is one of Gon's first true, like, what the fuck? Why I gotta deal with this?
Right. Let's see what we got here. There aren't many other notable characters to be here, quite honest with you. It
He's
seems
got
that
funny stuff like, Tompa and people like that went through the exam with them. But yeah, as far as characters that
matter. I
matter and
mean,
that go through, there are little characters that notice Gon and see his father and stuff like that. But getting to the main point of this first arc, I mean, that character wise, we hit it.
we find out, I'll probably say, in terms of people who are going to matter more, who matter more, I would say, did you, Kite wasn't in this arc, was he?
No, no,
No,
not
I
no,
don't know
not
why
yet,
they say
not yet.
Kite is in this arc. Maybe in a flashback or something.
Well, technically, I mean, I don't know. Kite's not in this arc.
Yeah, he's not. I know because I've
That flashback scene is way later.
yeah, I agree. And they
Like Kite met Gon while he was still on Well Island, but that was like 2, 3 arcs later.
yeah, they didn't show
When they
that.
when they talk about it, I mean, when they talk about it,
Right. We
I
have
would like to talk about that third phase though.
well, all right. So hold on. Let's in terms of just the characters that sort of matter from here on out. We have Isaac Natero, who is the chairman of the Hunter Association, who is typically like in all anime super strong old guy.
Yeah,
Um, we have Illumi, who eventually reveals himself, and he is Killua's brother, who is also taking this entire thing. Um,
correct.
we have who else ends up being a sort of factor? I think no one else. I think we can leave it
Yeah,
at Illumi.
everybody else I would say is sub. Illumi, Neruto, they're you know they're two. They keep going later on.
Yeah,
They're part of
Chairman
the series
Netero ends
for.
up becoming a big thing later on.
He's a
Um,
sucker, but yes, yes, correct.
a big thing later on, and then I think Illumi ends up becoming a somewhat of a thing, and kind of like we're ending
Hey man,
this.
look, Illumi becomes a spider later, by the way. But that's a conversation for us later.
But that is I mean, we got to talk about that at the end of this thing because I need to know what's going on. But yes, that is this. Let's talk about the Hunter exam itself. The first phase,
Yeah.
I love it. I love this this running thing and people generally passing out and just not being able to go through this. I learned that we learn about all these characters through this. I love the the surprise aspects of it, like monsters showing up and killing people, and all these other stuff. It's kind of the chaos that I've learned to love and enjoy from all types of
Hey
anime.
man, black characters immediately in this series.
That's unheard of. I feel like, I don't know.
I'm just saying,
Even in 2011,
and black characters drawn well.
even in 2011, I feel like that was unheard of.
I think his name was, I don't know I don't remember how to pronounce his name. It's
It
like
is.
Garita.
I think
Garetta?
so. I think so.
Yeah. Cool design, cool little design.
First phase. Any memories of the first phase?
First phase, some of my favorite moments. Obviously, Gon and Killua connecting over a fishing rod and a skateboard. Them absolutely destroying that phase and finishing first. Tompa and his laxative drink that Killua ended up bodying. That was really funny.
Anything from the Milsea wetlands?
Oh man, well, actually, when they first get out there, and there's an immediate, mind fuck for everyone.
Right. He's not the real examiner, and like the examiner's looking like, well, what is going on here?
right. And then like obviously Hisoka, he handles it, but I thought that was a great way to kind of start off what they're about to get into. Right. It's like you don't. He says, hey, this next section is dangerous.
They're gonna be
Stay close to me.
distractions.
They're gonna be distractions. There's a lot of things here that can kill you, and you don't think can kill you. And it's like you got like these fucking butterflies and like just really strange creatures that like can off you at any moment. And then they started off with that. To me, that like sets the tone of that whole scene. They start running, keep up with me, right? And he's like, he's gone.
You get the first encounter between Hisoka and the main cast, where Hisoka tries to, he gets into this altercation with Leorio and Kurapika, I believe.
Well, they were fighting. Remember, they were about to jump Hisoka.
Right.
Other
people, of course,
and
because
then,
that would be smart.
And then Hisoka kills them basically, and then Leorio doesn't want to. He wants to man up, like he wants to nut up, like I can't leave them like this. And Kurapika's like, nigga, let's get the fuck out of here. He's like, let's get out of here. Like, and Leorio ends up turning around and going back and gets manhandled. But you see what you were talking about with Jesus Christ,
Hisoka.
with Hisoka noticing strength and noticing potential. He ends up not killing him, knocking them the fuck out though, and picking him up and being like, hey, he's okay. He'll be okay.
Right. And that's where Gon comes in. It becomes the first moment where Gon is kind of shaken by a character because he knows that Hisoka has a weird energy and he could probably end him at any time, and Hisoka just stops and does it. And that's where his bloodlust comes in. And then,
isn't it cool that they were like foreshadowing Nen already, and you didn't really know that's what it was, that the energy that he was feeling, but it was just there.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what blows my mind, especially when you get through the development of all these characters. Just like, once you get to the part with Nen and Ren, and
now what Gon was feeling earlier.
It's a game changer throughout the entire thing, and it's like one of the most like it's like if we're comparing this to Dragon Ball, and yes, this is a Dragon Ball podcast.
No, of course.
Whatever this old Kai tried to do with Gohan times like 20. Like it's like
exactly.
It's more less I'm powering you up and more like you have to find out your own special technique on how you master this entire thing. And it doesn't take it's not something that happens quick.
What do they say? The real test hasn't even started yet.
Yeah. Second phase, cooking phase. That was interesting.
Cooking phase is like it's just a cute thing for me. I think it was a good way to show that there are hunters in different categories. You know, like because at that point, I'm really to me when I'm first watching, I'm thinking, okay, a hunter is, just
Oh,
maybe a skilled murderer or
that's what
like
I thought.
somebody. Yeah, I
Bounty
didn't really know.
hunter.
Right. And when you get to the second phase, it's cool. They start showing, hey, it's not just about this. There's gourmet hunters who hunt for specific meats or foods, and which was cool. But they're also very dangerous as well.
Right. And then she tries to fail everybody. The person who runs this exam, I believe her name was Menchi.
Minchi?
Yeah. She tries to fail everyone. They're like, nah, you can't fail everyone.
Minchi's hot. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's hot. She's hot. Just a side note.
All right. And then they do the test on Split Mountain. And
the spider eagle eggs.
Right. And now after how many people were in this?
42 were left after.
42 were left after.
I don't remember
it started with
how many were before.
I think we started with 415. Had to start with 415. Now there are 42 applicants left. They're on the ship heading to the third phase now. We get a nice little episode with Hunter, Gon and Killua versus Chairman Netero.
Chairman. One of my favorite moments.
I agree.
Is in this little caption here, and it's not necessarily the fight.
We'll talk about it.
So, yeah, okay. So, the fun stuff with the chairman. Hey, if you guys can take this ball out of my hand, I'm not going to use my other hand. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. It shows Gon's ambitions, but it also shows Killua's arrogance. And after that, I think it's like, to me, it's one of Killua's most important scenes, leading up to like the rest of his development of his character. And that's, he leaves Gon to continue to try to, get the ball from the chairman. And someone bumps into Killua in the hallway.
Two people do.
And two people do. And they're basically like, watch where you're going, kid. And Killua's like talking to himself, and they show like this backdrop from a window, and you just see like heads splattered.
He eviscerates them.
Like, I mean, and like it's a really cool, like, it gave me chills, because like at that point, it was a bit evil. Like even like the whole aspect of it was evil. And he just murdered these guys like in the middle and kept it pushing.
Yeah, I think it was a true extent. I mean, these are the true glimpses that we're getting of Killua's true power, right? Like even when he does that move, I forgot what it's called. The move against Chairman Netero.
The
something step.
But the double team shit.
Yeah.
It reminds me of double team.
After image.
Because the chairman was like, I think Gon
that's
was
an
like,
illegal move.
Yeah, Gon was like, how can I do that? And chairman was like, you don't need to know how. Like it's very.
Those
it takes
for
a lot.
assassins.
Yeah, right.
Do you think it's something that takes a lot, or was it because he's an assassin?
No. I think it's one of those things. Like because remember, Killua talked about his training and like the things he had to go through, and even going all the way back from him drinking the laxative and him saying, my body's immune to poison. This doesn't bother me.
Right.
So I think all the things that he had to go through as a child, because Chairman said he was talking amongst himself in his head. He was like, damn, that, who knows the things that this kid had to go through to already know how to do this. So I think it's a bit of both, being an assassin and also just going through the things that he went through at a young age.
He uses the, what was it? Something step. Ugh, whatever. Boom, 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 boom. I kind of want to find the name of this damn move.
You talking about the Killua move?
Yeah, because it's a cool name. I forgot. All right, whatever. someone will send it to me. Um, with that, we head to the third phase, which ends up being Trick Tower. 40 applicants, 72, 40 applicants because Killua kills two. Um, you have 72 hours to get down, and you're forced in a group. Our four beloved characters are forced in a group with Tanpa, who we find out doesn't even care to pass the exam now. He just like wants. He's just an asshole who kind of just wants to enjoy see people fail, and
It's called Rhythm Echo, by the way.
Rhythm Echo, boom, super cool name.
Super cool.
Going
It looks
to
cool
use that
too.
myself.
Really good visual. Really good visual too.
Everything sort of going on from here. We get the battle thing against the five prisoners, where we kind of learn a lot more about the characters and their whole. I would say their techniques, how they handle themselves in pressured situations, and where I would say we learned. I would say just through that entire tower, I think it's probably the most significant part of this entire exam. Would you say so?
A lot of development. A lot of, oh, this is kind of who this guy is. You know, I think there's still more to them even after this, but it definitely puts that, like, you know, when you're trying to, let's just say you're trying to get to know somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are talking, and maybe for a day or two, and you're like, okay, well, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see the main things about this person, but there's obviously deeper things. I think they gave you that, just a sprinkle of like what everyone's about, just so you can at least build your own relationship with the person or with the character. You know what I mean?
Right. It's less than.
It was just enough.
It's less than we're literally telling you how they are, as opposed to now we see how they react in these type of situations, which are probably a lot more of a stronger basis on how you're able to tell who a person actually is.
Definitely.
All five, by somehow, some way, some path.
And decisions had to be made. I think only 3 of them can go through if they take this one row. And they had to vote to do it with their little watches. Or the other way is all 4, but it's a longer way, and they didn't have enough time left based off the last trial that they had to go through, because they wasted so much of their time fighting the prisoners that they lost some time. So the only way to get through was take the shorter route. Well, the shorter route means somebody can't make it. So obviously in that room they put a bunch of weapons, you know, insinuating that, you know, you guys can always fight for this. And then of course, you know, Gon, being the charismatic, smart one, I guess you would say, kind of smart. He came up with this awesome idea, and it ended up working out, which I thought was kind of cute. I didn't expect that, but it was.
It was ingenious. I never thought of it as well. There's 2 paths to get out. One is long, and the other will only allow 3 out of 5 to enter, but it's incredibly short and allows them to exit the way. The long one, everybody can enter. The short one, only 3 to 5 enter. And of course, Leorio and Tampa's like, "Yo, you need to die now. Like, this is the time. Like,
they hated each other.
We strung you along for too far. You need to die now." Because I'm pretty sure Tampa wanted them to lose.
Anyway, we didn't really talk about Tampa, but he is the rookie crusher.
Yes, he is the rookie crusher. He is the asshole. He is the one who doesn't want to see anyone pass.
He's taken the exam more than anybody, and he's just there to stop rookies from winning. That's just a quick synopsis on his ass.
They eventually choose the route. We're going through the long route, and then we're taking the axes to cut a path to the short route. Through the walls, because there are doors that are right next to each other, so they cut a path to the short route using the axes and end up making it out before time expires, which is the most like, wow.
It was cool, because I really, when you're first watching it, that's not how I expected that to go.
No, not at all. For
me, having a show be unpredictable is just as important as character development. Because a lot of times you can be watching something and you may even be enjoying the show, but you kind of know what's going to happen next, you know? And that's my thing with Euphoria as well. It's like, even the promotion leading up to the show, I didn't really know what the fuck the show was going to consist of. You know what I mean? I knew who was on the show. And for that to happen at that very moment, breaking the wall to basically get everybody through, it's intelligent, and I didn't see it.
It is the one part that we didn't expect. The fourth phase is the manhunt phase, and trust me, this entire I'll say this about this arc. One of my cons about this arc is that it goes on for way too
It
long,
really does.
and by the time
Because this fourth phase is long.
it's supposed to be 7 days long.
Yeah.
So, and by the time you hit this phase, you're already so exhausted out of the first three phases, and especially that last phase, which had several parts to it. It's like if you get homework and they said like you only got 5 questions, and then you see the 5 questions. There's 3A, B, 3A, 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 B, 3C,
No, no,
3D.
no. Whenever it says when it's not multiple choice, like there's 5 questions, but you need 3 paragraphs for each of these answers.
It's so much. So you get to the fourth phase, and it's supposed to be 7 days, and there's this competition where they grab each other. They're supposed to grab each other's numbers. Um, it ends up being a cool competition once you realize like what goes on. I don't think we should spend too much time.
No, it's very extensive. It's very Hunger Games
Yeah, if you're into that type of
you
deal,
know.
it'll be definitely for you. There's a lot of
Yeah.
situations. There's a very much so a kill or be killed type of deal to this entire thing, because you have a number. Everybody has a number. You're designated a number you're supposed to get to be able, and if you get that other person's number, then you essentially have to wait the 7 days and make it to the finish line, or make it to the finish line before the time runs out, and you're able to win the competition.
Right. The only part I think we should touch on is Gon got Hikusa's number, and that was kind of like the main part about it. They showed some cool Killua stuff, some cool Kurapika stuff, but it was really about the fact that the number that Gon did take was Hikusa's.
So the most intriguing part of this entire thing is that Gon has Hisoka's number, and I believe Hisoka has Gon's number, I believe, and somebody else, I think Geretta has.
Yeah, he. I thought. No.
He has somebody.
Who was the one who poisoned Gon?
That was after,
because he had his number.
That was after.
Who had Gon's number?
No, it was Good Lord. See, this is the entire thing. Hold on. So Geretta has Gon's number.
Right.
Gon has Hisoka's number, and Hisoka has, I think, Geretta's number. I think.
Correct. That's what he said. So after he knocked Gon out.
So that's the triple try. Anyway, Gon ends up stealing Hisoka's number by after the most stressful situation of his entire life. But eventually he gets it stolen back and things like that. But he leaves him with Hisoka leaves Gon with his number, but Gon doesn't feel
because he didn't need it.
Yeah, but Gon doesn't feel like he's earned his number. But Hisoka said essentially, "You can give me this number back when you're able to punch me in the face."
Ultimately, and it was the first time I think Gon felt lost.
Yeah,
like he was afraid. He felt like he didn't earn it, so he was disappointed. Man, walked back to front with a fucking face swollen.
Right. And then we have the final phase, the fifth and final phase, which ends up being this weird tournament where it's like only one person will not become a hunter, and that's kind of, I don't know if there's a full way to determine it. There's a tournament. I think someone eventually, the loser of all losers, was not going to become a hunter, but eventually the only rule here is that you cannot kill the person.
You can't kill.
That's the only rule for the entire hunter exam. It ends up being this thing, these back and forths, where probably the most battle that had the most stakes to it was Gon versus Gitoraka. No, not Gitoraka.
No,
Gitoraka was
Hanzo. The what? He's like a ninja.
He's like Krillin, fully formed.
Yeah, a really good Krillin.
Who ends up breaking Gon's arm because he wants him to essentially give up, but Gon refuses to give up even though his arm is broken, and then he's also stabbed him in the forehead.
That was a strange fight, man. There's some like comic relief in it.
Right.
There's like some super seriousness, and then like Hanzo's like, you know what? There's no talking to this kid. I'm done.
Right.
I'll take my chances in the next round. Basically, is what he said. Because he couldn't kill him. Gon was like, well, you can't kill me. So
Gon passes his exam, but Gon is eventually also knocked out through the entire thing. Um, I like the kind of way that they presented this entire thing because they said essentially he wakes up and he finds out that the only person who didn't pass was Killua, and that's kind of how we get the backstory of how this entire thing.
See, see, this is my like that. This is one of my cons for this. Is I would have preferred them shorten the fourth phase and saw the whole final phase out.
I agree,
But I understand. I get it. You know, they kind of back tell it. You know, and that's okay. But I would have preferred to see all these fights. You know,
but you know what
shorten the fourth.
but I think the thing about this, and I think the fifth phase ends up being like the least like because most people end up just giving up
Mm-hmm.
because their strategy to this entire thing, as opposed to like I know that Hisoka ends up giving up one thing, who else
Mm-hmm.
and somebody else
Whispering stuff in people's ears.
right ends up giving up it as well. Um, it's not particularly exciting, but only one person was going to fail, so it's not
It
like
had a purpose. Its
right.
purpose was to tell more of Killua's background and get into the next arc. Ultimately, I mean, I think that's what it comes from,
Right.
just to make sure that they have that played off. Because, like he said, there can only be one loser.
Go-
And when Gon woke up and found out,
he found out that Gitoraka ended up being a Lumi, and the Lumis end up being Killua's brother, and Illumi kind of puts a spell on Killua to end up killing what's his face, Bonsai or Bonzo or Bozo or whatever the fuck his name is. Either way, he's dead.
he's dead. He got cooked.
He got cooked by Killua, and
Yeah.
Killua gets disqualified, so he's no longer a hunter. So pretty much everybody else by
Everybody
default
else is
becomes
yeah.
a hunter. And that's kind of where things end for this entire Hunter exam arc. It is an interesting way. I would say, in terms of just looking at it as a whole, it's 21 episodes. Um, it drags. I would
It
say.
drags.
I would
It
say
does.
it drags.
It does. Near the end, it definitely starts.
For an introduction arc, I think it's one of the longest, I guess, introduction arcs for an anime. It being 21 episodes, it introducing all of these characters that don't matter, um, but still kind of, you know, honing in on the four characters that do matter. What is your general thoughts of the Hunter exam arc?
I thought that its purpose was meaningful, especially going forward. And yeah, there's a few characters that do get callbacks after this. And their callbacks, some of these callbacks aren't even important until literally arc 4, like Chimera. But like, it's just one of those things that it makes sense just for what's about to happen next. But yeah, there it does drag a little bit. But ultimately, I thought it was a great introduction. I think as far as the 4, 5 guys you really want to know, Kurapika, Leorio, Killua, Gon, he Jesus Christ, why I keep messing up this?
Hisoka.
Hisoka. I think we got plenty of information on those guys, and it made sense to make sure that they got what we got. But it did drag. Like I said, there's some things I wish was a little shorter, and which was, but to me it worked out, especially going forward.
The Hunter exam arc, first arc, I love it, but not sometimes. I'd say generally, I'm a fan of the arc. But I do think it drags on. But I think it part of it builds. You have so much of a base for the rest of the entire series thus far, and it only gets better from there on out. Like it legitimately, I don't think anything is particularly as, and not to say it's bad, but everything is so much stronger after the Hunter exam arc. Like you, especially the development of the friendship of Gon and Killua, the powers that they get, the development of Kurapika and Leorio, being able to meet these certain characters, being able to introduce sort of development without it being like who's stronger than who. It's more so now the idea of, well, my technique does this and your technique does that. How do they fare up and how do they match against one another?
Which is cool because I think that's kind of what's getting into Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah,
like we spoke about that. Like I think it's getting more into techniques than pure power or pure, let me power up and, let me go to Super Saiyan 6. I think it's technique and what can you do to outsmart your opponent, and a lot of Hunter is that, like it's not always about pure power, and that goes all the way until this shit ends. You see that, so it ain't always about what you're made of. It's about how you do it.
Let's talk about a little bit of the stuff after the Hunter exam arc, because I mean, I don't know how many more there are.
Yeah.
How many other times we'll have to talk about Hunter x Hunter, but we should
I
at
know,
least
right? Well, right
dedicate
now,
10 minutes to like.
Yeah. Right now they're in the Dark Continent,
In
which
the
is, I don't know if you
manga,
remember, in the
just
manga, yeah.
because the anime is done.
It's there's been rumors, but I would say that it's not going to come back.
I mean, I think the rest of the arcs don't even revolve around Gon, right?
At this moment, Gon and Killua have not re-entered the story. Still, correct.
So for them, it would be hard pressed for them to build a. Would you consider this a shonen?
Yeah.
Around a show without
I'm not
the
saying
main
they're
character.
not gonna come back, but they're just not there yet. I'm not sure. The Dark Continent, I don't know if you remember when Gon and his dad were talking about the tree.
Yeah.
And he was saying, there's a homeland of where the Khmer ants come from, and basically saying you got to explore it. And that's what the Dark Continent is. It's a bit of a fucked up place.
Mm-hmm.
But it's full of mystery. Actually, in the intro, there's little things that like accumulate to the story of like what Hunter x Hunter is and what it means, and it's like they keep going about, you got Nin and Ren and all other stuff, and it's like the world is so huge,
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of fans have complained about the fact that it's so huge because there's no end in sight, and a lot of fans just want the series to end so that we can say it's over instead of being on hiatus continuously. But I'm sure everybody knows, if you're a fan of this series, the situation, creator, and having back issues and not basically being able to finish the series just due to health. And I think people have to be understanding. I think there was some chapters that came out earlier this year. They're still dropping the actual mangas. Like they're still coming out as chapters are being completed, but they'll put out a new chapter and shonen, and then like you'll get an announcement next week in the magazine saying the show's on hiatus. Like apparently he's dealing with illness. His wife has helped him draw some things and try to push the show on. Who is also the creator of Sailor Moon, by the way.
Oh.
His
wife or him?
His wife. His wife created Sailor Moon.
Oh, that's badass.
So, yeah. So she's tried to help along to like push forward the show. But I think that's my thing. I mean, I want it to continue, dude, but not at the price of like somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you got the Hunter chairman election, the Dark Continent, which is, I feel like Dark Continent, to me, Chimera arc is the best arc, but Dark Continent in its full, if finished, man, I just feel like it would probably be the best.
We want to make sure you guys stay subscribed to RNC Radio Live so you can continue to get updates on The Lookout and the other many podcasts that we have, and the Mount Silver podcast, which should be coming at some point later this month. It'll probably come.
What are we talking about next time, man? What are we talking about next episode?
We'll be talking about the third generation of the Pokemon game, so that includes Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and also the reintroduction of the first generation, Fire Red and Leaf Green. So we've got 5 games to talk about through this entire thing, how they came to be, how everything came, our general feelings about it. We want to thank everybody for all the positive support that we've gotten, not only for the last one we did on GT with Balvin, shout out to Balvin, but also the Mount Silver podcast, which is doing great, and a lot of people seem to be genuinely excited to listen to it. So I'm very, very happy to do that. Once again, we're going over all the games until we hit the brand new game, Sword and Shield, which comes out November 15th. This one, we're continuing throughout the month of August and through the early part of September. The next episode we'll talk about on the Samurai Kame House will be, or sorry, not the next episode, but the next thing that we'll be talking about is the My Hero Academia, the initial arc, the one that
it's your baby, man. It's your baby.
It is the thing that got me into it, and it is the thing that continues to keep me into it as we prepare for their 4th season coming out in October. So that show is returning. Sorry, Dragon Ball. But that show is returning, and then we will cap off things in September with the live watch of the first episode of Pokemon with Pat. So you can expect a lot of Mount Silver shenanigans throughout the month of September. Yeah, man, stay tuned, stay subscribed, and stay ready. This is The Lookout with myself and Platinum Chanel boy Jeff himself.
Yeah.
We'll be back.